Salve Populi, quem vos fala é Fábio Grácia e eu falei que a gente ia mudar algumas coisas aqui no canal. Finalmente a gente vai estrear um programinha nosso aqui de entrevistas e hoje em grande estilo com o nosso queridíssimo amigo aqui, David Lloyd.
Hi, obrigado.
Obrigado por ter vindo aqui. Então como é que é? Bom, em primeiro lugar, eu queria agradecer o Guilherme da Loja Monstra, que trouxe ele aqui pro evento de aniversário de 1 ano da loja. O David já estava aqui para a Comic Con do Rio Grande do Sul e é uma grande honra ter um cara desse quilate aqui para bater um papinho aqui com a gente, né? Então eu vou fazer algumas perguntinhas aqui. Primeiro eu queria agradecer você por tá aqui hoje na Comic Boom. Eu queria saber um pouquinho da sua carreira, como você começou, porque muita gente conhece você do V de Vingança, mas às vezes não sabe das suas influências e tudo. A gente queria que você contasse um pouquinho da sua trajetória aí pra gente.
Well, that's a big question. I really, I began my interest in comics from when I was a kid, like most kids, but my interest really when I was a little kid was with cartoons, simple cartoon strips. We have a character in England called Andy Cat, and it was like a simple cartoon strip, and I drew that sort of stuff. And I drew that sort of the basic humorous cartoon stuff for a long time until I was about, I don't know, 10, 11. And I became interested in Mad magazine from America. Mm-hmm. And I loved the sort of work that was done in Mad magazine by Jack Davis, great artists like George Woodbridge. And I used to draw there. And then I guess the beginnings of my real interest in wanting to do comics myself came from when I was about 12, 13. I saw this fantastic full colour centre spread strip in a British comics magazine called Boy's World. The strip was called Wrath of the Gods, and the artwork in that was extraordinary. The draftsmanship was fantastic, and it was the first strip I'd seen that really created a convincing world, like a movie. Mm-hmm. It was so well done that you believed it entirely. And when I saw that you could do that with a comic strip, that stimulated my interest in wanting to do my own. And then shortly after that, I saw the very early work of Steve Ditko before Spider-Man, which was very inspiring also. And then through the whole of my early school years, I was doing comics off and on. Then I left school. I didn't go to art school. The idea was for me to go to art school, but I missed the opportunity to go to art school, which I won't go into. And when I left school, I ended up training in advertising. Mm-hmm. So I was an advertising artist for some years. But during those years in advertising, during the lunch breaks and at home, I was drawing comics because it was a passion and it was something I loved and I was good at. And during those years in advertising, I developed some comic strip characters that I tried to sell to a newspaper syndicate. And I tried, but I failed. But even though I'd failed, by that time I'd given up my job in advertising. So I didn't want to go back to advertising. So for 4 years I spent time doing 2 different part-time jobs. One working at a cabinet maker's one working as a painter and decorator in a department store. And in all those times, in those part-time jobs, which were just 3 days a week, I was improving my skills, because I realized that the reason I'd failed to just go from advertising to comics was because I just really wasn't good enough. So in those 4 years, I worked hard to improve my skills, and during that kept sending samples to publishers, and after a time I got a break. A publisher gave me a whole book of strips, and you know, with that sample of good strips, I managed to get more work and more work, and from that period, my entire career as a comic artist, as a comic creator began. But it was hard, but it worked, and from that point on, I went from comic to comic. Ended up with the comic that V de Vingança appeared in. Really, that's about it.
Aproveitando que você já falou do V de Vingança, tenho certeza que isso é uma pergunta que muita gente te faz, mas é de curiosidade geral. É muito difícil trabalhar com Alan Moore. Como que foi esse processo de criação dessa graphic novel?
Okay, well, first of all, I think that people believe or perceive that it might be difficult to work with Alan because of how he works with other artists. I've heard these stories about these very intricate scripts that he's supposed to be giving to other artists. I never had those intricate scripts because I worked with Alan in the early days. He was just 2 years into the business. I was the very first person he collaborated with on any kind of long-term project, and he wasn't writing those sort of scripts. You know, after he worked with me, whatever he did with other artists, I have no understanding of. But when I worked with him, he wrote usual panel descriptions that I have received from other artists, and we worked very well together. We were both on the same wavelength. We were both influenced by the same cultural outlets, TV, film, books, science fiction. We were both brought up on the same material. So we worked very well together. We were both concerned to make V for Vendetta a story that meant something, that was important, and not just an adventure. You know, we were both politically active. I mean, when I say active, our brains were active in terms of politics, which you can't say for everybody. And so we worked very well together. In terms of actually creating V for Vendetta, that's a long story. I mean, the thing is, I was asked by the publisher who initially published V to do a masked vigilante character. That was the brief. And I was invited to write and draw the whole thing myself. But because I knew Alan Moore, I knew he was a fantastic writer. I knew that if I got Alan on board to work with, then it would be better. And I was right, of course, because he's a genius. And so we constructed a basic concept about this character who vows vengeance upon his persecutors. Alan wrote an outline of this world where there was a dictatorship and people were put in concentration camps. And then we had this very basic structure of a vigilante. But we didn't really have the full motivations of the character, and we also didn't have what he would look like, how he would operate, and stuff like that. And so we were sort of going through different ideas, none of them really worked. And then I had just this crazy, insane brainstorm about making him a kind of resurrection of an old revolutionary in British history, Guy Fawkes. The idea was to bring him back and take him away from the establishment's viewpoint of Guy Fawkes as a kind of terrible terrorist, and make people aware that he was working for what he believed was a good cause. So he was a freedom fighter and a terrorist, both. So I thought, well, let's make our character a kind of resurrection of Guy Fawkes, because we created a character who was crazy enough to do that. He'd come out of a concentration camp where he'd been experimented on. His brain was not exactly perfect enough, but not perfect. So I ran that idea past Alan, and I thought it was a great idea. And that is basically how we ended up with the character who was kind of resurrection of Guy Fawkes, who not only adopts the persona of Guy Fawkes, but also wants to complete the mission that he founded, to plant housing, really, bust a system, to bust a corrupt system. And so that's how we ended up with V as a kind of resurrection of Guy Fawkes.
Bom, a gente sabe que o mundo hoje está mudando bastante, a gente está tendo uma, politicamente falando, uma guinada de extrema-direita no mundo inteiro, e de muitos regimes mais com uma pegada um pouco mais autoritária, nacionalista. Você acha que dá para estabelecer um paralelo com essa graphic novel que vocês escreveram já tem alguns anos, mas mesmo assim parece atual? Por exemplo, aqui no Brasil mesmo a gente está passando por algumas situações e a gente pega o Reino Unido ou Estados Unidos também.
Well, I think the important thing about what's happening now is populism. The way of raising political power through appealing to the basest instincts of human beings. That is on the rise, but it's not new, and it happened in the 30s in Germany and Italy and Japan. And I think, we're in a situation now where history is repeating itself. V for Vendetta, or the society that we created, V for Vendetta, is very much an echo of Germany in the 30s, where there was a desperate population looking for some kind of saviour, somebody to pull the whole thing out of the mess. And what you have now is a repeat of that. And the scary thing now, I think, is it's not happening in one country, it's happening in
everywhere.
A mix, in exactly the same way as it happened in Germany. So you have populism in America, you have populism in England, you have populism here, and you have populism in Europe. In Europe, I think the strength of the European Union, if it can survive, will guard against that. But individual countries are under threat, and I think it's a problem. I don't know how you're going to solve it. And I mean, I can only say that what myself and Alan did with V was to warn against the right wing and any tyranny that would that would try to wrest power from democracy. And like 1984, like Orwell warned, and we were trying to warn also. V de Vingança. I don't know whether democracy is the only hope, really. The people have got to wake up. Whether they can wake up, because they don't have the information. People don't have the information. A lot of people who vote for these populist leaders are desperate and vulnerable, and they're reaching out for these people who they see as heroes, not realizing what they're really doing. They're self-serving, megalomaniacs who are only interested in their own positions and aren't really interested in making the world better for their electorate. But at the end of the day, the only weapon you've got is democracy. They'll wake up, the people will wake up, and although that sounds patronising, when you sort of like say people have got to wake up, it sounds patronising. But the fact is, people do have to recognise their moral duty. That's most important. You cannot mistreat other people and say it's good, because that's immoral. And if you actually get yourself in a situation where you are treating your fellow citizens or your fellow human beings in a cruel way for some political gain, then you're immoral. And everybody who votes has to look to their moral duty as human beings. And that's what democracy can do. So if democracy can work properly, it should save us from the kind of disasters that happened in history. But we just have to rely on a free press and people speaking their minds and going out in the streets when they have to. And because that's democracy. Just going out and protesting is democracy. It's not just about voting. We just have to hope for that and stay true to our ideals and stop this appeal to the basest human instincts of people, which is extremely dangerous.
Você acha que o V ele é um agente do caos e ele ainda seria necessário nos dias de hoje?
Well, no, I think an agent of chaos is very good in a dictatorship. In a democracy, an agent of chaos only becomes an enemy of the people, and the government can always use such a character as a justifiable act to work against. The idea of an anarchist and a chaotic terrorist within a democracy will always be seen as the government, by the government, as a terrorist. Such a character can only work under a dictatorship, where the people have no choice but to try and undermine what they have, what they're forced to live under. No, we don't need V, we just need people.
O que você está fazendo atualmente? Quais são seus trabalhos? No que você tem se empenhado ultimamente?
Well, my entire occupation now is something called Aces Weekly. I'm very interested in the reach of comics. Comics are not reaching as many people as they can. And one of the reasons is the restricted distribution, you know, the outlets for them, as we discussed earlier. So I think it's a good idea to get more people to see how good comics are through the most efficient means of distribution and reproduction, which is the internet. You know, comics on the web give us a great opportunity to get out to many more people. And I think it's important that we should do that. And that's what my aim is. I'm publishing a cyberspace comics magazine called Aces Weekly. It's entirely exclusively cyberspace. And it gets out to people through their computers, through the laptop, desktop, tablet, and smart TV. Because it's efficient, it's cheap, and it gets to them. I love paper comics. You know, you've got a great story. It's full of great stuff. And I love paper comics. But let's get more comics out to more people. So they'll see how great comics are, and then they'll see it on great, and then they'll want one on paper too, maybe. You know, but the important thing, get the great art of comics out to people. And we have to do that. We can do it. It's the 21st century. We don't have to stick to the same means of distributing great comic art and storytelling. Through one means, we can do it. And anybody interested in seeing what I'm doing, go to the website, which is acesweekly.co.uk. Not .com, it's important, so he gets confused about it. It's acesweekly.co.uk, because we're a British product. And despite being British, we have a global reach. And also a global cast. We have Brazilians working for us, you know, we have Argentinians. We have a global cast of creators, and we can reach everywhere. And I just want to say, you have great Brazilian artists and creators here, and you're not reaching a wide enough audience. And I think, you know, being out there in cyberspace can help. So I think that's what it is. Let's get out there. Let's tell people how great comics are. Get exposure for all the great talent that's in comics. It's most important.
Mais uma vez eu queria agradecer o nosso querido amigo Guilherme aqui da Loja Monstra, que trouxe aqui nosso amigo David Lloyd. O David vai estar vai estar autografando algumas obras no aniversário da Loja Monstra de 1 ano, né? Tá debutando aí com bastante estilo, bastante classe aí, fazendo o primeiro aniversário. Né? Lembrando que a Loja Monstra fica na Praça Benedito Calixto, número 158. Né? A Comic Boom fica aqui na Rua Tijuco Preto, número 361, aqui no bairro Tatuapé, pertinho do metrô Tatuapé. Né? Se você quiser comprar algum quadrinho e não mora aqui em São Paulo, você pode comprar pelo comicboom.com.br, que a gente entrega para todo o Brasil também. Não se esqueça de curtir a gente nas nossas redes sociais. A gente posta tudo que chega lá pelo Facebook, pelo Instagram e no nosso canal do YouTube aí. Vamos dar uma forcinha para o nosso canal para a gente estar sempre aprimorando, trazendo mais gente aqui. A ideia desse programa é trazer gente dos quadrinhos para falar de quadrinhos, coisa que a gente realmente gosta. E eu queria agradecer mais uma vez aqui o David Lloyd. Thank you, man. E eu queria que você falasse alguma mensagem aí de esperança aí para todo mundo que tá ouvindo a gente aí agora.
Okay, well, yes, I will say, be true to yourself. Be true to yourself. Look around you, see what's good and what's bad, and make sure that you're part of the good.
Obrigado. David, that's for you.
Oh, right, okay. Thank you.
Can open? Obrigado. That's for you too.
Oh, right, thank you. Okay. All right.
I can feel you up.
Okay. Right, thanks. Obrigado. Oh my God. Guinness. Right. The old days.